Today we will discuss the topic of controversial game Highguard. Highguard was announced on Game Awards in December of 2025, and for many it was because the game was announced in a very as a new title in a very important part of important part of Game Awards. So, because for example, we had announcement of a very famous game, new KOTOR game created by very famous programmists Casey Hudson, and Highguard was a little bit. I cannot use because I cannot find proper word. It was not disappointment, but it was a bizarre experience to have such a unknown game, completely new, in this specific part when new games were announced, new titles or new ideas, and the game looked okay. It looked okay, but nevertheless. In these kinds of area like Game Awards, which is right now the most famous game awards, the most renowned and the most discussed, for example, Angry Joe, Young Yeah, Matty Plays, all of them are discussing Game Awards. So it's right now this is the only formal gathering of programmists and other people to discuss games and to give awards for the best game of the year and best other games of specific genres and so on. So this is right now a very famous or the most famous party, the most famous game awards of our generation. And Highguard was announced unexpectedly. No one really believed that such a rather casual title will be announced in a very hot slot of those game awards, but nevertheless they did. And the game died in just 45 days. So we have right now March 11, and on March we have right now, I'm not sure, but I think yes, today is March 11, and on March 12 the game will be closed. So only 45 days it survived. It survived longer than Concord, which just lasted like 14 days. So 45 days is a little bit better, and of course Highguard was a free-to-play game, so you didn't have to buy it to play it. But still, the game is another example of disaster. When someone wants to copy ideas, and Highguard was copying the ideas of Apex Legend, of Overwatch, of Team Fortress 2, or of Fortnite, and so on, so like Battle Royale games. And unfortunately, this copy with addition of new elements was worse than originals. So if you want to copy some idea and you want to implement, for example, live service of battle royale game, it needs to be at least better than those games who are already existing. The same problem is, for example, with hack and slash games that right now only Path of Exile 2, if it will be fully released, it will probably defeat Diablo 2 Resurrected as the best hack and slash game. Maybe not the most popular, but the best. And the reason is that it needs to have everything better than Diablo 2, and at least to even conquer it, because for example I'm playing Diablo 2 since its release in 1999. So I'm playing it for about 27 years right now. So if a new game wants me to focus on it, and those kinds of games like live service games are not like casual, even long RPG games, like for example Baldur's Gate series, when each of Baldur's Gate games is very long. First Baldur's Gate is long. Then you have an expansion. Then you have two expansions to Baldur's Gate 1. Then you have Baldur's Gate 2, an expansion to Baldur's Gate 2, and then Baldur's Gate 3. All of these games, RPG games, are very very long, but nevertheless they are shorter than live service game, because live service game is you can play to your death, really. So all of these games wants players to focus on them and pour hundreds, if not more, hours into playing. So the game needs to be really in Polish, we had a magazine called Secret Service in Poland, and there were three main statistics if the game is good. So the sound, the music, generally the sound, the graphic, and something which is called miodność in Polish. So a very subjective term, of course. So it's something like how good the climate and the gameplay really is. So very subjective, of course, criteria, but it is, I would say, the most important. The most important part of every game is really its general reception by me. Not music, not graphic, but general reception. And of course, graphic and music adds to this reception. So if you, for example, have game like Highguard, it didn't have better graphics than Overwatch, than Apex Legend, than Fortnite. So you cannot defeat games which lasts for years and expect that if you do a worse clone of that game, the players will be playing it. Because right now, players, I would say right now, gaming is not only for kids and children. The gaming industry is focused on older players, and older players like students, like young men, don't have time for games, because games can devour an exorbitant amount of hours of playing. For example, in Guild Wars 1 I have like 2000 hours of gameplay. In Diablo it will be probably 3000 or maybe 4000. So it's even thousands of hours of playing. So so if you do a game like a live service, and this is like first person shooter, you need to do music, graphic, gameplay, feasibility, flexibility of the game, even the climate, even in a way the plot. All of these, they need to be better than the games who are already published, because players are bound to those games. Yes, they have characters, they have hours of playing, hours of items, hours of farming something, and so on and so on. So they don't. There is a statistic which I still don't believe Mr. Haltan on its channel published it. Then that 50% of players didn't finish Act 1 in Baldur's Gate 3. I still don't believe it. I need to check it. But if it's true that 50% of 50% of players who bought the game, the original game, and so on, didn't finish the act first, we see that focus span on something is far shorter than in the past. For example, I also have a channel in Polish about let's say history, theology, and philosophy. And earlier in my times of studying, of studying, I was able to read 12 to even 15 books per year, something like that. Right now it's about 6 7. Even though I have more time, I have let's say I have even time then and now. Even my focus span is shorter than it was 15 years ago. That I can read 6 books, and then in the past I could read 15 books. So we see that that because of the, of course, social media, because of the internet, because of the YouTube, because of the TikTok, uh, our focus span on something is difficultier for us to maintain. So the same case is with computer games. If the game is too hard, players won't play it. For example, right now I was playing Baldur's Gate 1, and I was not happy with my dual sword warrior, because I wanted to focus on two-handed swords, and you cannot respec your characters in Baldur's Gate 1. And I was fighting with a werewolf on Baldurian. There is a quest to find a Baldurian ship. And Baldurian is a hero who founded Baldur's Gate City. And the werewolf was so potent that he regenerated its health almost instantly. So I was so pissed about, and I remembered that the fight is really tough. You need to focus, you need to use proper abilities to defeat him. That I decided, screw it, let's play again right now, and I will play with my proper character with two-handed sword, and I will focus on this werewolf more properly in the future. But it shows us that even veteran players, I have 41 years old, so I'm not young anymore, we have shorter span for difficult tasks, for difficult problems. I have replayed StarCraft 1, and I finished Terran and Zerg campaign, but I'm stuck in a Protoss campaign. And I'm not talking about Brood War, which is more difficult than normal StarCraft. I'm talking about normal StarCraft, and the game was published like at the end of 1997 or at the beginning of 1998, and the game was really difficult. It was really difficult, and you cannot change the difficulty of the campaign. So I see right now that I don't have patience like I was when I was a teenager, like I was a student, to focus on difficult aspects of the game. But also, I almost omit games which are completely AI-like generated. And Highguard, unfortunately, when I saw, for example, we have a review, you can watch a review of Angry Joe of Highguard, quite funny review, that the graphics and mounts and shooting and combination of shooting and swords, combination of FPS and modern technology with fantasy technology, it was something new, something interesting, but it was implemented so poorly that you thought that this game is just like AI made game, just to make a live service, and to players maintain it by buy something on microtransactions. And when you do such a game, you need to really rethink every aspect of the game. For example, let's focus for a bit on Path of Exile 2. They know that Path of Exile 1 is free-to-play game. It has a very weak graphic and a rather weak gameplay looking like style. So they need to improve it in Path of Exile 2, and they did. They did the graphic and the gameplay and the moving of the characters, the abilities, the skills, the look of the skills, the animations of our movement of our characters is top notch. Is top notch, and only then you can, for example, persuade players like me not to focus on Diablo 2, but to focus on Path of Exile 2. Because, for example, right now we have many hack and slashes like Loki, older ones like Loki, like Torchlight 1, 2, and 3, Warhammer Martyr, Voltsen. We have Grim Dawn with all its expansions. We have also still Diablo 1, we have Diablo Immortal, Diablo 3, Diablo 4, so Titan Quest with all its 3 or even 4 expansions, very long expansions, and Titan Quest 2 is being made. So hack and slashes are many, but I'm personally am only playing in Diablo 2 Resurrected, and and I want to buy Path of Exile to play it also. So you see that if you want to hit this niche of, for example, like Apex Legend games or like Overwatch, you need to do it better. Even stronger argument about it is with MMORPGs games. MMORPGs are very tiring to do and very expensive. And right now, really, we have only one such game, World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft was published in 2003, and it was first through MMORPG, because we have earlier like Ultima Online and something like that, but MMORPG really began with publishing of World of Warcraft. But then we have many games like Lotro, like Ion 1 and Ion 2 right now we also have. We had even Guild Wars. I would say that Guild Wars 1 is the only MMORPG which I have played more than in World of Warcraft, and I think they should make a Guild Wars 3, because Guild Wars 2 was for me it was completely a disaster, but it is a topic for another movie, for another discussion. So, but we see that, for example, we have quite popular MMO like games like free to play Lost Ark, or normal paying MMORPG Final Fantasy 14. But even those games cannot absolutely match the amount of subscribers of World of Warcraft. Why? Because every of these MMORPGs, I would say that Lost Ark in many ways is better than WoW, but in many ways it's completely unplayable. Especially bosses which are too difficult. It was made in South Korea, so South Koreans are still playing in StarCraft 1, so the game is really difficult. Because of that I stopped playing it. So World of Warcraft is still the only MMORPG, the only real MMORPG that counts, because all others or have worse graphic and worse sound and worse gameplay, and they are generally worse. And I'm really for me it's really bizarre that 23 years passed and the graphics in MMORPGs, except Lost Ark, they are rather really weak. So WoW is still, even though the graphic is right now completely from different galaxy, it's completely unplayable because even of graphics. Players still play WoW, and if well, let me say this: because right now we have Guild Wars on Steam, so a new edition of Guild Wars on Steam, playable in Steam. So I'm trying to buy it in the future. But if WoW was for free, I would play as MMORPGs WoW and Guild Wars 1. The only games I would play as MMORPG games, even though those MMORPG games, many of them were published long after World of Warcraft, but they still have graphics, sound, music, and even way of moving of characters, of animations, of special effects, very similar to World of Warcraft. It's the only really different game was Guild Wars, and this was the reason why I have played it, because they have a very beautiful, a little bit like anime manga style, but a very good looking, very well made by the graphics. They did an amazing job. But unfortunately they focused only that you can go to level 20 and then you cannot progress more, so it's unplayable after you achieve it's not as interesting when you achieve this 20th level. So you see that, for example, MMORPGs cannot defeat first MMORPG. They cannot even be close to it. They cannot even be close to it. Because the most popular ones are like Lost Ark and Final Fantasy XIV, but they have like maybe, I don't know, 4 million subscribers, maybe something like that. So World of Warcraft is, is like 10 millions or even more. So it's really because technology moved. In 2003 we had cards like what, GeForce 660. Right now we have GeForce 5000. So we have 1000 GeForce series, 2000, 3000, 4000. Right now we have 5000, and they cannot do MMORPG games with better graphics. It's really because, for example, Lost Ark has better graphics than WoW, surely, but it is more like a MMORPG game with hack and slash elements, so it's a little bit different. But this game is at least trying to do some parts better, and they are better than in World of Warcraft. But other than Lost Ark and Guild Wars, you have no other games which can even be on the 5th place or something like that. WoW is gathering all those who want to play MMORPG games. And this is the problem of Highguard. If you want to conquer, if you want to defeat, if you want to be even close to Overwatch, to Apex Legend, to Fortnite, to Team Fortress 2, to Battle Royale games, you need to do game which is at least a tiny better or even. It needs to be at least even than those games. Another great example are MOBA-like games. Right now we have only two really, Dota 2 and League of Legends. League of Legends was published like what, in 2009, so it's 17 years, and I still play it, and it's free to play game, and there is only one real one area when you can play, because for example you have Aram and other types of League of Legends, but Summoner's Rift is the first map, and it is the only map which true players really play. So you play with on the same map with right now we have like 100 120 something like heroes, maybe a little more, It's a free-to-play game. You can only buy, let's say, skins, really, which are the most important part of this buying thing. And the game, every hero, every ability of this hero, every passive ability of those heroes, that you see that they are polished to the limes, to the point of to be the best of the best. When I, for example, play Garen, which is the most the easiest champion of League of Legends, I see that every ability, every of his skills, every use of it is rethinked many times for those who created him. So that's why there is no other MOBA games, really, because Dota 2 is not as much popular as League of Legends, and League of Legends is ruling this area, like WoW is ruling MMORPG games, and it is an old game from 2009, and you play on the same map. You play on the same map, Summoner Rift. They only improved a little bit the graphics and couple of elements, monsters and so on, but it is the same game. And even playing against bots is interesting, because every item is rethinked and important. The same goes to Diablo 2. Why I'm still playing Diablo 2 if I can play Diablo Immortal, I can play Diablo 4. Diablo 4 will have 2 expansions soon, because abilities, characters, graphics, and also magical items, especially uniques, are so interesting, so godly made, so well made, and rune awards, that if I, for example, want to have 1 hour in my day to play in some kind of hack and slash game, it will be Diablo 2 Resurrected. If I have 1 hour to play in MOBA games, it will be League of Legends. I don't play in Apex Legends or in Overwatch, but if I were a fan of those games, I would play Overwatch. Period. So you need, if you want to do a similar game and defeat it in some way at least, you need to do this game even, not worse. And we have this example: Highguard, 45 days, free-to-play game. The game is officially dead. The game is officially no more. So if you played in this game, I cannot say you waste your time, because you gain some knowledge, you know how a new game is acting, what was good in this game, what was bad in this game, but the game is killed. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this situation with Highguard, what else, what interesting things we can add up to analyze this topic more.